Hi, I'm Palak, and welcome to More Than Just a Number. Today, we are joined by Mehak Ahal, who works at the intersection of animal welfare and sustainability. Through her work with People for Animals and her experience at Ahimsa Fellowship, she's been at the forefront of changing how companies and people think about animals behind our food system. Meg believes that compassion isn't just a feeling, it's a system that we can redesign today as we explore and integrate this in our daily lives. Hi, Mehek.
Hi, Falak. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's great to finally catch up with you. And you've had such an interesting journey, right? Right from rescuing animals at a very early age to now that you're working proactively in this field. What was it like growing up for you? Were you always connected to animals? Were you exposed to them?
I think because I grew up in a rural area, I had the opportunity to connect with a lot of different animals and to connect with them in a way where I was able to spend time with them and observe them, which really made all the difference in how I was able to understand their lives.
Tell me a little bit about what you do currently and what's your career been like.
Oh, sure. So my career journey wasn't a straight arrow. I knew I loved animals, but I was too scared to commit my entire life to them because I was also under the impression that that's not feasible in the long run. Rescuers are always running out of funds. People are always asking for medical bills. You just see that and you're like, oh, this is not sustainable. So I avoided it for a long time. I did research and I did other tasks and jobs. Eventually, I came across the Ahimsa Fellowship and I joined that. I was then able to make the transition into a full time career in animal welfare, and I now work in corporate engagement.
Tell us a little bit about your journey, when you started getting sensitized to animals in general, and how have you taken that forward in your journey, in your career?
So, I started rescuing animals, or my idea of rescuing them, which would be like if I saw a clutch of gecko eggs, I would bring them home and try and incubate them. I was about 3 years old. So as soon as I could walk comfortably on the terrain outside, I was out there and I was just trying to interact and observe as many animals as I could. I was always fascinated by them, and because I grew up in a place that was just surrounded by nature and wildlife, I got to see a lot more of things that I don't think other people get to see, like how.
Really grew up.
Oh, I grew up in Himachal in a very small town. It's a place famous for its riverways as well. So I used to spend a lot of time by the river just watching the fish and the amphibians. And I was outside every single day just watching these animals. And I got to see a side of them that I don't think many Indians and also many people in general get to see because of our disconnect with nature. And when you can see how much, for example, a mother rhesus macaque would sacrifice to keep her baby safe, you can see that maternal love, and you can see there's a lot more to them than we are told that they are capable of, or that we as a society consider them capable of. So over time, I think that just kept building. I was always reading up on animals and trying to learn more about them. But like most kids, it was about wildlife, or it was about marine ecosystems. It was the sexier topics. But no children are out there talking about what hens and pigs can do. Whereas you can teach pigs to play video games. They have that level of intellect, right? And hens also
Imagine having a pig as a pet, playing video games with them.
yeah, just a companion I can play video games with. Just sign me up for that. And they're just as emotionally intelligent as dogs, some
Yeah,
hot ways as
that's
well.
true.
Yeah.
Very
But
receptive. I think that movie Babe has really. I mean, when I was growing up, have you seen Babe?
I have, yeah.
Um, that really puts the spotlight on pigs in general and like just how adorable they are and what are they capable of, right? We've not even been taught that. We've also forgotten if we ever had an interaction. We're so desensitized in general. Do you think that it's your connection with nature, right? Such a strong bond with nature or exposure to that, rather, made it easy for you to connect and really outside of the matrix?
Not at all. Because after I grew up in Himachal, I went and lived abroad. And there, every single meal almost had meat in it. That or it was just considered not a fulfilling meal. Okay,
So
so
you were a meat eater?
yeah, I was a staunch meat eater. If you can think of an animal, I've eaten the poor thing. And I have that guilt with me. It was
But you never made the connection.
no, because like everyone else, I had the same cognitive dissonance. I didn't know where they come from. I sometimes saw them out in a field and I was like, hey, that looks like a decent life and we take care of them and we protect them. What's wrong with that? It's a give and take.
Yeah.
Right? You never see the actual slaughter, right? Unless you're one of like someone in the movement going to a slaughterhouse. Like Paul McCartney said, if all slaughterhouses had glass walls, we would all be vegans. You don't
Yeah.
see that part. You don't see the things, for example, tail docking in pigs. It's done without anesthesia. You're cutting off a part of them. You're not doing proper medical care afterwards. They're gonna get infected. They're gonna have abscesses. You don't get to see that part of it, right? You just see them out in the field. So I had the same cognitive dissonance. I claimed I loved animals. I wanted to dedicate my life to them. I wanted to be a marine biologist. But at the same time, I would go home and have chicken for dinner. And those two values not being something that can coexist didn't hit me.
Absolutely. In fact, even if you're a nature lover today, when you start understanding that all beings are one, Earth is essentially just one, you won't be able to harm anything that comes from the planet.
Yeah.
You know, it could be animals, it could be plants, it could be everything. So, from all angles, I think it's more about just being connected and truly deeply connected. Um, when was the first time you discovered? I know you told me that, it was in bits and pieces, but do you remember any strong incident when it just hit you?
It's not a very exciting answer because I was at home watching a movie. It was a documentary called Dominion. And it was one of the most upsetting documentaries I'd ever seen. I had to do it in parts and I would be weeping by the end of each session. But I think that's a discomfort we have to face when we're seeing that something we're doing is leading to damage to not only ourselves but animals that we claim to love and also the environment. We have to be comfortable sitting with that feeling of discomfort and then also exploring to see what we can do about it.
Yeah.
So Dominion really hit me hard. I mean, I would recommend people watch it, but it's also so disturbing. But at the same time, we have to remember that their lives are much worse than the discomfort we're facing watching a segment of their lives. That's their lived experience.
You'd once mentioned that humans struggle to emotionally process massive numbers. Like, when we say 400 million hens are in a cage, and, we are for 56 billion animals die every year. Do you think that we just shut down our mind because we can't process it, or it's too theoretical, too far-fetched, not really concerning us? It looks like another statistic on the board. According to you, what kind of impact would that have?
I think when we look at numerical cognition, how our brains understand and perceive numbers, we have to look at it from an evolutionary perspective. 100 years ago, we weren't talking about billions and trillions. 200 years ago, you were probably talking about thousands, and that was the biggest. To
Yeah.
even understand such a big number is a big task for our brain. And after a certain point, it just becomes abstract. You can tell me 56 million animals died, but that doesn't do anything to me. But if you tell me this life story of this one animal and I connect with it, and then you say there's 56 million animals like that who are going through this right now, then that's going to hit me. It still won't hit me as much as it perhaps should, but it's going to hit me more.
That's
I don't
a very interesting perspective. I've never heard that before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I studied a bit of psychology, so I bring in that.
Oddly enough, I'm very happy about uh, getting jolted by the numbers, but I see where you're coming from, because I'm like, the numbers make impact. But yes, if I tell you that 12 fish died today because of this dinner, it just feels more real,
Yeah.
more closer,
Yeah.
and honestly scary. Just way more. Wow.
That's a sort of distortion which even happens with us online as well. You
Yeah.
see someone has a lot of followers, you're just like, they're influential. You don't really comprehend the number of people which are looking at their every post, right?
Yeah.
Or if
Yeah.
your post gets a lot of likes, you're not thinking of each person sitting in their house on their couch going, oh, I liked what she said right there, I'm going to give that a like. Otherwise, you'd be like, wow, I really make sense all the time.
Meg, you've had such an interesting journey as a child. You've been rescuing
Mhm.
animals at a very early stage.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I think it was because my entire family loves animals, of course, in their own different ways. So I have been rescuing animals from as long as I can remember, whether it was just a baby rat whose mother got electrocuted, or a snake that I once put into my lunchbox and brought home on my way back from school. These are all things that somehow I found very normal, and my parents didn't really freak out either. So I guess I got encouraged. And as I grew up and I gained more of the skills and resources needed to rescue, it became even more fulfilling. Because when you see that animal in such a poor condition and then they get better slowly and slowly as you address each one of the issues that they're currently facing, and they're able to live their life to the fullest, there's no feeling like that. If I could, I would rescue every factory animal. I mean, every animal stuck in a factory farm right now. But because of the sheer numbers, we have to work in different ways to help them.
Tell me about the snake story.
I was walking home from my school bus drop off, and I there was a big concrete storm drain, and the snake had somehow gone into that. And because it was so it had such a slant, the snake wasn't able to climb out. For some reason, I thought baby snakes would not be venomous, and I just jumped into the storm drain. I didn't have anything to carry the snake in, so I took out my empty lunchbox from school and put the snake into that and took it home.
But why did you have to? You could have just let the snake be outside. Why did you have to
Yeah,
carry it?
sure. But you must remember the brain of a child. I must take this home and take care of it. Where is its mom? Don't snakes need moms? There's so many things. I mean, we apply um our knowledge incorrectly to so many animal species as well. The most common one I see is when people give kittens milk or puppies milk, and then they get digestive upset, and that can really threaten their life as well. But in our cartoons and what we're told, cats drink milk.
It's crazy, right? How most people have not thought of it. There's a whole industry made out of this. I mean, I remember during COVID, the egg industry was suffering because a lot of people were avoiding animal products, especially eggs and meats, to that degree, and even the government was supporting it. But
Mm-hmm.
to that degree that they were so threatened that they came up with a front page ad during the crisis saying that rose cow ande, right? They had
Oh
to.
my god, I didn't see that.
You don't know the. It was
I
crazy.
didn't know this, but I'm not surprised because I've seen advertisements for eggs that improve handwriting. I've seen advertisements for eggs that improve eyesight. You can put anything you want to try and sell a product, but if we're worried about pandemics and zoonotic diseases, then we have to move away from factory farming. I mean, whatever they put in the newspapers, there's plenty of scientific reports out there telling us that this is too dangerous for us to continue in this way. I mean, even with hens, I did have them in my backyard at one point growing up. I just used to interact with a lot of animals. And I remember like how complex a pecking order is, how their problem solving works. There's even research that shows us they have things they want. So if you starve a hen, which unfortunately the researchers felt compelled to do, and you have two weighted doors, if you have food behind one and a nesting spot behind the other, the hen will go and put in the work to lift up the door that leads to the nesting spot because they want privacy when they lay their eggs. It's such a vulnerable experience. And these are things like, obviously it's difficult for all of us to be aware of everything. It's difficult for us to know when we can apply the things we know to a different species. But when people are getting together and deciding a farming system, you'd think they'd consider that.
I think that people have not considered animal feelings and emotions. We are very selective in our compassion. It's funny because when a chicken is crossing a road, right, your mouth doesn't salivate. You don't think, oh, dinner. Your first
Mm.
instinct as a human being is to save that chicken. So as we as humans are compassionate, but it's really up to us how evolved we want to be or how kind we want to be. These are qualities which we can nurture if we want to. And I think somehow when it comes to other beings, we have not really done a good job with that as a society.
Yeah, for sure. But I think something that this generation does really well is that they apply their values regardless of location. So if they believe in equal wage or fair wages for people who are making garments, they're gonna check even if the garment is coming from Bangladesh, if they're being paid correctly, if they're getting breaks. And that's the same thing that sort of we have to apply to animals. If this animal was in front of you and in pain, would you help it or would you eat it? Now this animal is not in front of you. It's on a farm, it's on a unit somewhere in Hyderabad, and it's also in trouble there. Do you want to get it out of that situation? That's the bit about compassion where you really have to embody the experience of that animal from the day they open their eyes to the day they close them.
Did you directly switch from a non-vegetarian to a vegan, or did you first go become a vegetarian and then shift to veganism?
I shifted to vegetarianism and then veganism because I wanted to make sure I did the change in a sustainable way. Because there's no point going vegan for 2 weeks. We have a celebrity every other month who's like, I went vegan and it ruined my brain. That's no, you have to do it the right way. There's things you have to look into. You're changing your diet. Any diet change involves looking into it and understanding what you're putting in your body, right? If you want to remain healthy. But
What is the first tip you would give to somebody who wants to quit meat?
figure out which meat you would miss the most and find a good substitute for it, or learn how to cook something similar that tickles your taste buds the same way. Because there are going to be cravings. I mean, as a former staunch meat eater, I can tell you I miss the taste. But I'm vegan for the animals. I mean, just because they taste good doesn't mean I should eat them. There's an episode of Rick and Morty as well. So Rick keeps going to this other planet and he brings back yummy, yummy spaghetti, and the family has that all together and they love it. But then he needs to take his grandson. I mean, this is a vague recollection. I watched a while back. He takes his great grandson to get it as well. And that spaghetti is made from the abdomen of a person who commits suicide. So that planet has basically tried to become the most depressing place so they can then export that spaghetti. And then, of course, the child goes through all the issues of, yes,
Heavy.
but I don't want to eat people, and people
You
who've
mean
been
me?
made to and people who've been made to kill themselves. I mean, sure, it's delicious, but is that something I want to be a part of? That's the same thing that we have to consider, that you are going to be tempted by the taste, but you will remember where it comes from and that'll stop you. But you don't have to suffer being a vegan. It's not suffering. It's something you choose to end suffering that other beings are going through. It's not abstinence. It's you discover so many other things. I mean, I cook so many more cuisines and flavors since I went vegan. It's a challenge. It's exciting. It's so much fun. And it's only a challenge in getting a specific flavor profile. It's not a challenge in getting my nutrition. Something I think the veganism movement sometimes struggles with is that the moment we become aware, it's like that plastic sheet is ripped off of your eyes or whatever, that feeling, it puts us in such an angry place.
Yeah.
That we're
We've been lied to, we've been betrayed. This was a lie. I'm so angry.
And this lie is being perpetuated and other people don't know. And if they knew, they wouldn't do it. That's the worst part. If people knew, they would not partake in any of these systems. So you feel like you have to constantly tell people. And that's where the meme actually came from. I was a kid and I used to be taken to the butcher to but to get the meat fresh because India loves warm meat. And the hens would be slaughtered in front of me and I hated it, but I would go anyway whenever I was taken. Later on in the news, it comes out that he's also been selling dog meat. And people are up in arms because of the difference that makes. But it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Just because one looks cuter to us than the other doesn't mean that the value that the animal has or puts in their own life is different. And each of them deserves to live.
Yep.
It's our own glasses through which we see the world. That is the issue.
Yeah. Beautifully said. The biggest cure, the fastest cure for anxiety is just action.
Yeah. And depression can't hit a moving target, as they say.
Yeah, and I think community, right? So if somebody is listening to this podcast, you can always reach out if you want to find out like-minded people. Just drop in a comment, DM us, and we will connect to you. Whatever help you need, be it your little step in contributing to making this life a better place, this planet a better place to live in, or wanting to go vegan, any kind of support you need. Um, or even maybe asking questions from Mehak and learning from her experience. She has definitely turned a lot of pain into positive motivation, and is proactively working towards that. And Mehak, thank you so much. You've been such a great example for so many out there, and I really hope that people can follow your example and learn from you. Any last words that you want to share with everybody watching this?
I think a lot of people see work like ours and think that it's not really rational or pragmatic in terms of you can't run your household on a job like that. You can't dedicate your life to something like that and still survive. But they, the way things have changed in the animal welfare movement, we have community, we have support. And I would encourage each person who's listening to this as an action, just take one step that gets you closer to the sort of community you want to be a part of. Because that's what got me through all that pain you mentioned. People who understood when I told them a story, like one of the many stories I told you, you understood it completely in your heart and in your mind, what I went through when I saw that. That's the kind of community you need when you're doing difficult work.
Well, finally, if this episode leaves the listeners with one realization, what do you hope it is?
I hope it's that they understand that though this is a big change that they would be undertaking in becoming vegan or working for animals, anything worth doing is difficult. And the satisfaction that comes from being a part of the change is well worth it, as I'm sure you can also attest to.
Amazing. Well said. I hope whoever is watching, you can be a part of this change. It's not as difficult as it seems. And easy does it. Step by step journey. If you have more questions, please comment down below. Ask my Mehak, DM us, and we are here to support on your journey to a more cruelty free and happy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again in another episode with another wonderful guest.